Yo guys, and welcome back. Hopefully everything's going well out there for everyone here today. Trying a new setup here. I'm standing up, so if it's a little bit weird, hey, it is what it is. But anyways, we do have our newest exotic here for MSL, which is, I'm just going to call him Huwi. If I slaughtered a name, feel free to correct me in the comments below, because this is not going to be my first time slaughtering it, and definitely not the last here. But let's go and take a look at this exotic, starting with the fire one, who is an attacker type, coming in at level 60 with 24k HP, nearly 3k attack, and nearly 2k defense. HP and attack is good, defense is just gag me with a machete. But let's take a look at the skills, because that is more important than stats in my opinion. So for the 3 and 5 star skill, this astromon has curse with an 80% chance to inflict 2 curses on the enemy for 2 turns in regards to the 3 star skill, and then for the 5 star skill, 80% chance to inflict 3 curses on enemy for 2 turns. The more curse stacks that you have applied to the enemy that you're facing or the astromon, the more damage you can get with fulminating curse at the very end. So he has double curse, meaning you need to bring someone in with fulminating curse, preferably only 1, maybe 2 astromon with that, because you don't want it triggering every single turn here. And also the leader skill is critical boost. This is great for kind of boosting up your critical hit rate in your party. This is more towards beginners though. I mean, it is in Nat 3 exotic too, so it's understandable, but over time that skill becomes kind of lackluster in terms of the leader skill, just because once you get your gem quality up, that's really not an issue anymore, especially with enhancements here. But double curse, honestly, I think I use curse in Apophis or Apophis, because I keep changing his name every single time I do it. Outside of that, I really haven't experimented with it. I think I did a Golems video a while back with curse in its infancy, but they've made it a lot better. So I do think it's also viable in a PvP situation, depending on what type of team you're operating with. However, Nat 3 League would be the only method of using him, because in his current state, 2k defense stat with 24k HP, he's going to probably pass away here. And thinking of other mons right off the top of the dome here, I mean, there's Fire Hades, there's Dark Hades, I think one of the Banshees have curse, there's Dark Candling. I'll kind of include over here somewhere on the screen just a box of other astromon that you can pair him with, because that was some of the feedback that I got from you guys of just, I guess, helping you guys with some team building while doing these astromon reviews. But yeah, he's your standard curse mon. If you don't have any other curse mons, it's kind of fun to play around with. But is he absolutely necessary? No. But let's take a look at the skill books anyways. So the 3-star version of curse does get a 15% damage boost, and it goes up to 100%. And then the 5-star version gets a 20% damage boost and goes up to 90%. The books are fair. It's just, do you have a curse team that will be viable, and what content will you apply with that curse? You could probably use it in other places, but I mainly just use it as part of my first sword for Apophis, but it is what it is. Alright, and then moving over here to the water version of Huwi, who is a defender type, coming in with 28k HP, 1.8k attack, and then 2.8k defense. Not a bad stat distribution, even as a Nat 3, to be honest. That's peaking almost 30k HP and 3k defense. That's really like Nat 5-ish balanced territory if you think about that stat distribution. I know the attack is dirt nasty low, but it says he's a defender here. He doesn't really need attack. But let's take a look at these skills, because I'm actually kind of slightly invested into this one, just ever so slightly. So 3-star skill is Barb Taunt, performs a counterattack proportional to damage received for 1 turn, and grants an 80% chance to draw enemies' attention for 1 turn. Enemies cannot die to counterattacks, but you can rip them a new one. And then for the 5-star skill, it's going to be defense aggression. Attack power becomes proportional to own max defense. So you have Barb Taunt, which kind of helps mitigate some damage from him and actually makes a standard kind of defensive mon a little bit more offensive if the enemy hits him. And then with the 5-star skill being aggression, you take that benefit of having that innate high defense and get some damage out of it. I mean, defense aggressors aren't as big as they were quite a number of years ago, and with aggressors in general, I mainly only recommend light or dark, just because of the elemental advantage over the other ones. And even today with super evolutions and ultimate evolutions and stuff of that nature, It's really just dark, but outside of that, we do have counters to the aggression too, but that doesn't mean that you can't use this astromon and maybe annoy somebody in clan versus clan. This isn't a mon that I see used in a PvE situation, i.e. like Colossus, Titans, farming the story, dimensional dungeon, etc. I see this mon purely as a defensive mon, either in PvP during the Nat 3 League because it's a Nat 3, or if you need to throw something interesting over there in clan versus clan. Don't really see a big brain tactic of trying to use this in regular PvP, just because even with that stat distribution, I think it's going to just be destroyed, like honestly. But let's take a look at the skill books here. So Barb Taunt does get a 15% damage boost. It goes up to, what was that, 90% for 2 turns. Solid. Defense Aggression also receives a 25% damage boost, but it is AoE, and like I said, it's nice to get some damage out of a defender astromon, but will it be a game changer in the end? Even if you somehow pulled off like a beautiful ruin set or something on this bad boy? I don't think so, but definitely fun to play around, especially as a newer player out there. For the old heads though, kind of up to your discretion, but I mean, I would definitely at least Evo 3 this mon for the guide for sure, and maybe give this a shot because I don't think I have a dedicated mon with Barb Taunt. Or do I? Alright, and then moving forward here, we do have the wood version of Huwi, who is an attacker type as well, coming in with 27k HP, nearly 3k attack once again, and nearly 2k defense. So basically a copy of the fire one, but he has around 3k more HP if memory serves correctly. Interesting. Finally giving wood some love it seems, but let's take a look at the skills here. So for the 3-star skill, morale boost. Critical hits have a 100% chance to restore own SP by 40%, and then for the 5-star skill, 30% predator. This is your classic wave clearer, even though especially as a beginner player you get mons like Dark Mona, which is just way better, and she also has a super evolution too, so once again way better than what you get here. But it's nice if you don't already have kind of the niche astromon of each type, especially for RGB for wave clearing, depending on what content that you may be doing, like maybe Elemental Tower of Chaos. I'm not saying that this astromon is going to get you through all the levels, but if you're just beginning, it can kind of help you kind of climb up the tower, if I can stop saying kind of too much here. Unfortunately though, that means if you're watching this video and hopefully the event is going on here, make sure you Evo 3 the one with a square slot, because the square slot has the critical rate gem up in there, and I don't really see a purpose of you wasting like a gem converter slot on this freaking Nat 3. If you want to build this one, make sure you get a square slot, but classic wave clearer down to the core. These are mainly used for golems, in my opinion, and of course just farming out story stages, leveling up other astromon, attaining sigils there for the dragon dungeons and stuff of that nature. But let's take a look at the skill books here, and of course I'll have some other astromon that you can pair this astromon up with if you have them. But anyways, morale boost, which is critical hit reliant, it's sad that they're bringing that back here, does receive a 20% damage boost, and it goes up to 50% for own SP production. Interesting. And then Predator also receives a 20% damage boost and goes up to 40%. Not bad. I mean, it is an Nat 3. Definitely not bad at all. So yeah, I think he's a decent astromon. I don't think he's groundbreaking, but considering what we've gotten in the past, especially for wood, I think he's a nice added welcome, kind of helping to fill in that 3-star slot that's been missing in the game. Because I know we have Incubus, Wood Incubus, with his dirt nasty slow animation for the 4 stars, and then 5 stars, nothing comes to mind here, but we have some powerful wood astromon. But yeah. And then moving on hopefully to the more interesting ones. Usually you have to fuse for these guys, so I try to recommend players to go for these guys first and get the RGB later, because you don't want to be stuck between a rock and a hard place and get nothing, even though we have gleams nowadays here. But we do have the light version of Huwi, who is a balanced type, coming in with 34k HP, 2.5k attack, and then 2.6k defense. Let's take a look at the skills though, and with this being a light mon, obviously facing against dark mons could be problematic for him, and that's the gist of it here. But for the 3-star skill, it's blind, 80% chance to blind the enemy for 2 turns. This of course reduces their critical hit rate and damage. That's nice, especially for the Apophis. And then for the 5-star skill, it's attack down, 80% chance to reduce the enemy's attack for 2 turns. Once again, Apophis, this could also be utilized in Titans. specifically hitting Light Titan if you don't have any other astromon to use. I personally have a setup of 2 Nezas on my left lanes. Maybe I'll throw a photo of my Titans team in here currently, even though maybe slightly outdated. But the whole goal is kind of mitigate damage from your team, with Blind reducing the damage that the Titan's going to do to your astromon, plus with the attack down, lowering his overall attack, can hopefully help your team survive a couple more rounds here. Outside of that, I don't really recommend you using Blind anywhere else. I mean, I could be wrong. But let's take a look at the skill books here. So Blind does get a 20% damage boost. It looks like it goes up to 90% for 3 turns. Okay. Attack down receives a 20% damage boost and goes up to 100% for 2 turns. Once again, that's fine. This is a great kind of introduction astromon too, especially if you're trying to fill out for Titans and Apophis, just because this mon is accessible and usable. And I think outside of, what is it, Light Bulby and maybe Light Neza, there's not a whole bunch of Light Astromons roaming around its planet here with Blind and Attack Down, which is preferred over Defense Down, because you should have another mon that's doing Defense Down. But if you don't have that either, you know, hopefully it'll come. But definitely a mon that's used for one of those 2 applications. And yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the dark one. Alright, last but not least here, we do have the dark version of Huwi, who is an attacker type coming in with 27k HP, nearly 3.1k attack, and then 2.3k defense. Not bad. Not bad. Nat 4, exotic. Okay, I mean, I can handle that, can you? Anyways, let's take a look at the skills here. 3-star skill is Courageous Strike, which is perfect for Colossus, and of course Titans. And I think they mentioned in recent notes, because I haven't done a video with the notes, just because they've been very sparse. Like, I'm not going to waste your guys' time with that. But recent notes, I think they indicated about maybe integrating Courageous Strike into more types of content. So if you are just beginning the game, you don't have a lot of Courageous Strikers, I would 10 out of 10 recommend. Pray to the guys that you get a square slot on this bad boy too, because you don't want to go through that, especially for Nat 4. Save it for Nat 5 if you have gem slot converters, but especially for Nat 4, you don't want to deal with that. And then for the 5-star skill, it's critical rate up. Not a big fan of this because it increases the critical hit rate for allies participating in battle for 2 turns. I've seen some arguments of saying critical rate up could work because you have, I believe it's like the Wild Fangs and some other astromons that have Crisis Aversion, where they reduce the critical hit rate of your squad. Okay, fair enough, but this is a Nat 4 with Courageous Strike. What is that going to do for you in a PvP situation? Spoiler alert, nothing. And he already has that freaking variant skill too, which would boost up the critical hit rate of your party. So critical rate up, or critical hit rate up, overkill in my opinion. 5-star skill isn't super useful. I mean, can kind of help top your party off, but shouldn't be relied on for sure. But at least with the 3-star skill, as long as he gets no SP, you can get some damage out of him. I imagine his performance is going to be similar to that of like Dark Eve. That's what comes to mind with having Courageous Strike on the 3-star skill only. But once again, for Titans, you want this astromon more so on the right lane, probably paired up with at least 1 or 2 healers, and depending on, you know, your whole composition, maybe another Courageous Striker, because you want the exposed weakness coming from the left lane to slide over to the right lane astromon, and depending on his animation speed, see if he can take that exposed weakness and get some more damage out in terms of hitting Light Titan. And once again, since he's dark too, you can bring him in Colossus if you need some type of Courageous Striker for pretty much all of them but water, because water you can sap or just use puncture. But he does have his uses, more so for newer players. Older players out there, get him for the Astro Guide. But Courageous Strike does receive a 20% damage boost, and then critical hit rate up also receives a 25% damage boost. Not really game changer right there, but I mean, there's nothing else that can really be done with the skills. My overall thoughts with this exotic is it's fine. There's nothing super amazing about it. There's nothing horrible about it either, which I rather it be mid, as the kids would say, versus being awful here. So if you don't have any of these astromon, feel free to pick them up once the event starts here. Right before we end the video here, guys, I'm making a little tier list of what some of you guys have suggested in past videos just for these astromon right here. So I'll throw the graphic up on the screen here. S tier, I would definitely say the dark one, followed by the light one. The caveat with the light one though is if it's usable for you or it's applicable, meaning Titans or Apophis. In one man's opinion, dark one's the same thing, but you can also use the astromon and Colossus and Titan. So dual usage, which is always important. In terms of A tier, I wouldn't really count none of these astromon that are left, the RGB, as A tier. Just because they're Nat 3, they already have innate lower stats than Nat 4s and Nat 5s, especially with Super Evolutions and Ultimate Evolutions, and they have better books. I could go on, and with that leader skill too, I mean, it doesn't really help them here. So I would slide over to B tier next. We're going to jump down here, and I mean, for wave clearing, I think this Astromon's okay, especially as a newer player, but if you've been around the game for quite a while, this is purely for the Astro Guide like all of them are. So that's why it's sitting in B tier for me, probably top of the B tier, followed by the water one, which I would also say is B tier, just because its application is more universal than the fire one, honestly speaking. You could put this mon on clan versus clan defense, as I stated before, or PvP defense. I don't think it's really going to hurt anything, even though it's only a Nat 3 here. And then in C tier, even though this astromon has double curse, is the fire one, just because curse is already niche, and it's extremely niche if you don't have any other curse mons to pair up with this. And its application isn't, I mean, it's better than what it was before, but I don't think its application so far is very mainstream. So since it's so situational, I would say it's C tier. Not that this Astromon's awful, but in terms of priority, he would probably be the last one I would try in Evo 3, just because curse is cool and all, but if I miss out on this one, I'm not going to cry. But hopefully this video helps, trying to integrate some new changes into my video format here, so feel free to leave your guys' feedback on that. Hopefully you like Huwi. If you have any idea or any other ideas of where you can use this bad boy at, feel free to leave that in the comments below. Make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss out on the latest, greatest, and more of whatever MSO drops in the future. Yeah, that's pretty much it. See you.